The name pub originates from public house. Pubs play a big part in British culture. Unlike bars in China, British pubs have a relaxed atmosphere. People come here to relax and chat with old and new friends.
Sometimes I can get confused about what is a pub, what a club
pubs,
is, what a bar is.
Pubs tend to be a bit more kind of a quieter, relaxed kind of community setting. Whereas a bar then might be like where we are now. It's a bit more of a random crowd, it's a bit more exciting. And come like 10 o'clock, it kind of kicks off and everyone's happy out dancing and having drinks. Whereas a nightclub is like open from maybe 9 o'clock at night till like 4 in the morning, and it's crazy and it's really loud music, lots of alcohol.
It literally means crazy for me.
Yeah.
We never do it.
Beer plays a big part in British culture. So, what are the typical types of drinks on offer in an average British pub?
We have lager on tap, we have stout on tap, and we have real ale on tap. We do them by pints and half pints.
What are the most popular types of beers generally?
We sell quite a lot of lager here. We sell a lot of Fosters and we sell a lot of Carlin, but we also sell for a lot of the older crowd and some of the younger crowd. We sell a lot of Doombar. Everyone has preferences. Like a lot of people wouldn't drink lager, wouldn't drink ale. They drink Guinness. A lot of people would never touch ale and drink lager. Or some people. What's my preference? Anything, to be fair. No, I mean a lot of ladies would come in and they would have wine, or we have. I mean, fruit ciders now are massive. So you have your like Koppenbergs, like strawberry and lime mixed fruit, and they're massive sellers. But yeah, for you, I'd recommend try a little bit, and we'll go from there.
Be adventurous.
Kind of like the drink, the beer that I have in China. Kind of. Yeah.
Beer drinking is quite different in China. Beer is not sold in terms of pints and half pints. So, this is a pint. This is how beer is normally served. A pint is equal to just about a half a liter. Another interesting fact is how a pint is poured. Beer and ale are drawn up through the lines from kegs and casks. Dervla and I went to the room where the kegs are stored. So, the beer is served fresh and cold directly from the kegs rather than bottles. I was so surprised.
Cider have been enjoyed in this country for many hundreds of years, and the tradition still continues. So today we are here at the London Beer and Cider Festival to see what this is all about.
London Drinker Beer and Cider Festival is the longest running festival in London in the same venue. It's been held at Camden Centre for 32 years.
How did all this thing start?
Well, this festival was started by our current branch chairman and his wife, really, sort of along with the rest of the committee 32 years ago. And it was originally started as a London festival, but now it's specifically for the North London branch. But at the time there weren't many London CAMRA run beer festivals. And so this was started then, and the reason we're called the London Drinker Beer Festival is the London branch has also published a magazine called London Drinker, which is available in pubs, that reports on the CAMRA's activities and beer and pubs in London.
CAMRA, the Campaign for Real Ale, is a consumer organisation led by more than 150,000 volunteers all across the UK. In 1971, four men formed this organisation to save traditional ales and traditional English pub culture. So I was advised to try a beer that matches the color of my jacket, Dark Side of the Moose. Well, I think it sounds rather pink than purple. And anyway, it's too bitter for me.
certainly pubs are a very, very important part of British culture. We have always had a culture of pubs in this country, and it's a relatively unique culture in the world that most of the rest of the world doesn't have quite the same sort of pub culture, where the pub always traditionally was the centre of a community. And you still get very good community run pubs that are at the centre of a community, particularly in small villages, although a lot of those have gone now, unfortunately, due to various things. And unfortunately, we're actually losing quite a lot of pubs at the moment. They're closing down partially because of the land value. It's become no longer profitable to rent them out as pubs, so people are trying to sell them on. And it's part of CAMRA's remit is to campaign against that, and we frequently lobby the government to try and get laws, and we lobby local government as well, so the local councils, to try and get them to pass laws.
Here at this festival, they've got more than 150 kinds of beer, whether you like your beer pale, dark, weak or strong, hoppy and bitter or sweeter and mild, they've got all you want. Jess had shown me how they would usually taste the cider or perry. The first step is to look at the color, then have a little smell. But to get the proper aroma, I need to slightly shake it and smell through my fingers.
And then smell through your hand. Just lift your hand a little bit. Just lift your hand a little bit. Just lift your hand.
Oh, it's a bit different.
Yes. See, that's why you do it, to get the proper smell. And then you taste it.
It's really sweet.
It's very sweet. Yeah, it's very raspberry.
To try as many types of beers and ciders as you can, such festivals will usually offer small glasses for you to have a sip. Carl is a pub owner and has been involved in this industry for a very long time.
So for a beginner like me, what are any suggestions for me? Like, is there any certain rules I need to follow?
So there's not really any hard and fast rule, but start off with something not too strong and maybe a little more delicately flavoured, and work your way up to the stronger flavours and find out where your sort of sweet point lies, if you like, where you get the most flavour, most pleasure from the flavour of the beer you're drinking. Obviously, if you go straight in at something very strong and packed with a lot of flavour, then you might find it's a bit much for you if you're not used to it. So start gently, work your way up, and somewhere in there will be, that's the one for me, you know.
It's quite small but individual, and they have some really good local beers as well as some general British beers. So that's why we come.
That most of the people here, they're men, but like few women are here. Do you think there's like beers or ciders for women then?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. There's a lot of the perries and ciders, but there's such a variety of the different beers, sweet beers right the way through to porters and wine and stuff. So yeah, why wouldn't you come along?
They drag me along this lot. I don't really like beer that much. No, I do like beer, but I like what kind of I like golden beers rather than the stouts or the chocolate malts and all that.
Golden beers.
The flavor of the beers depends on many things, including the types of malt used and the yeast variety. So, what is the secret that makes ale unique amongst the beers and develops the wonderful aromas that other beers can never provide?
A real ale is defined as a beer that has a secondary fermentation in the vessel from which it is served. So this means in the casks you have some yeast, and that undergoes a secondary fermentation which produces all the carbon dioxide. So you'll see you've got some bubbles in this glass. All that carbon dioxide is produced by the yeast. That's what makes the product unique. Now cider similarly isn't artificially carbonated, which is the reason this perry, in fact, this one rather than a cider, is actually flat, because it hasn't got no extra carbonation, because it's not in a sealed vessel unlike the beer. So a real cider, unlike the keg cider such as the big name brands as such, will be flat because it hasn't been artificially carbonated. They haven't actually injected carbon dioxide into it, which means you don't get as bloated with it.
Okay, so the proper way to drink it is just to say...
It's just to say cheers.
Cheers!
So Kiki went to the London Beer and Drinker Cider Festival, but I've decided to see what goes on in a brewery. So this is John, and we're in Hackney Brewery today. Let's go take a look. John and his friend Peter established this home brewery at Hackney in East London 5 years ago. They started by making cask ales and have been creating innovative beers since. Today he will be guiding me through the whole process of making real ale. First, it's the malt.
As soon as they start germinating, they scoop them all up, throw them in a big kiln, and roast them. They dry them out, and then they crush them.
Well, and they look like that.
And then like, you can eat that if you want. It tastes like Maltesers.
I don't know, are you lying?
It tastes like
really?
Maltesers. Do you know, so I just throw it in the camera.
Oh my god, it actually does. That's so weird.
Clues in the name, really.
Malt, yeah. Oh my god, that's really weird though, isn't it? Actually, all the colour in beer comes from the malt.
So you can see the colours.
Oh yeah.
From like charcoal, pretty much, to like not so much.
The process of mixing malt with water is known as mashing. This usually takes an hour. Here we get the wort. The wort is then transferred to the copper, boiled together with hops for about an hour and a half. When it cools down, the actual fermentation process begins and some yeast is added into the fermenting vessel. After a week, the brewery will either cask or bottle the beer and it's ready to go. Years ago, casks were made from real wood. However, nowadays, casks are made out of stainless steel.
You've got to keep them wet, otherwise they shrink, break. It's all held together with pressure, those wooden casks. So if you let them dry out, they just spring leaks. And yes, and heavy, expensive, they're not very clean. So these are light, relatively cheap.
But other than that, the ale is still brewed in the original way. The hot liquor tank is like a big kettle. It heats up the water and the temperature will be monitored. The next stage is mashing. And this is the one with the hot water.
So yes, this is the mash tank. See the sparge arm here, that just spins around. So it just spins around and sprinkles water all over the top of the mash.
In this vessel, the grains will be saturated with hot water in a certain ratio, where the enzymes in the malt break down the starches and create sugars. I could fit in there.
You could fit in there.
Then he showed me something in a secret room.
So you can see all the varieties we have. So we've got Motueka from New Zealand, Calypso from America, Sats from Czech Republic, Vic's Secret from Australia. So it's from everywhere. There's a bit of everything.
These are called hops. So these are your hops.
Yeah, which one's this? Oh, these are New Zealand varieties.
You can smell them though, can't you?
Yeah, these are the aroma. So I showed you the bittering before, wasn't so punchy. These are really, really punchy.
And it's just dried out plants.
Yeah, they're
basically.
they're like
hop
buds,
plant.
hop buds. It's like the flowers of the they're not really flowers, they're buds. But they're called flowers.
Beer wouldn't be beer without hops. Hops will be added in the copper when boiling the wort. The longer the boil, the more bitter the beer gets.
So the hops add bitterness and flavour. So like I said, there's two types, like aroma and flavour. Literally do aroma and flavour, the job of aroma and flavour. The other one does the job of bitterness. And you need that. You need to balance the alcohol, sweetness, the bitterness, the aroma, flavour. Everything needs to sit well when you're crafting a beer. So this whole process takes about 6 hours, from mashing in to finished beers, and we brew about 10 times a week. Yeah. So we double brew every day, pretty much. So
Flat out.
flat out, flat out.
And I noticed there's another tool being used, the hydrometer.
It measures essentially the amount of alcohol that's in beer by measuring the sugars that are left in it. So as you know, yeast makes alcohol by eating sugar and sending out alcohol and carbon dioxide. So this is a measure just to see how much sugar is left in solution. So we can do our equations to work out how strong the beer is and how long it's got left to ferment.
So this is what's going on in the fermenting process, and it's taking place in these huge white tanks.
We make craft cask beer. No other country does, or not in the same way that we do. As a huge part of our lifestyle and society. It's ingrained itself over hundreds of years to be what it is today, and we make it like no one else.
With microbreweries like Hackney Brewery, real ale has become more exciting and flavoursome, and it's becoming more appealing to varying generations in Britain.
It's not very good value actually buying something old and bitter. When actually I can buy something that someone spent a lot of time and effort crafting something that's got loads of flavour in it.
It's kind of like getting like fast food or getting like a proper
Exactly.
meal.
Exactly. It's that quality that you're paying for, but you're not getting. With craft beer, you're paying for it and you're getting it. You're winning. Yeah, so it's better value.
Now I think I know everything about making real ale. Although I don't think I'll be doing any home brewing anytime soon.
Self-plug in. Let's go find about beer.
It was a longer run than I had expected. Right, you ready?
Beer.
Yum!
They're the majors.